knife review for you today. This is from Finland. Absolute beautiful knife. It's the Nessmuk 125. Brisa make this. Brisa in Finland. All materials are sourced from Europe. You probably know Brisa through the Enzo range of knives that they finish and supply. You know, Enzo, Brisa. Well, Brisa has its own line of knives that are traditional knife makers, really, and they sent this one to me for a review. This is their new model out. I've seen the prototype of this when it was first looked at. There is one, I think, other video on it, so really you get an exclusive look at this. It's the first production run of this knife, and we'll have a look at it. The Nessmuk design knife, absolutely fantastic, and I think this is going to be probably Bushcraft knife for kind of 2018, 2019 quite easily. Absolutely beautiful. I'm going to leave all the specs for you in the list below, the steel specs and all that. 3.5mm spine on it. It's a Scandi grind with a micro bevel. CR80 2V, 20V steel on it. I don't know. I'll leave that in the description box below. Curly birch handle. It's a high carbon steel. It will throw a spark. Ridiculous. Now, for the left-handers, it comes with a right-handed sheath. The sheaths are fantastic. They are well made. Right-handed sheath. But of course, fits in there lovely. It's really traditional, this is, and it goes great with kind of modern equipment. Something that I'm looking at the moment, you know, how do traditional knives go with modern equipment? You know, you carry some of the probably the most best backpacks on the planet now, and then you carry a very old-fashionedly designed knife. Absolutely fantastic. 125mm cutting edge on this. That's where it gets its 125 from, for anyone who's wondering. We'll do some cut tests on it. And going back to the sheath, if you're right-handed, it comes with a right-handed. I'm left-handed, no problems. We get a left-handed sheath. You can get a left-handed sheath for this knife. At last, knife people that are actually recognising left-handed sheaths, and Brisa have always done that, to be honest. I've looked at a couple of their range of knives, and they do left and right-handed sheaths, which is great news, because it's probably the most asked question I get is, where do I get my left-handed sheaths from? And normally you've got to have them made, but left-handed sheaths, and it's exactly the same. There's no quality difference. Perfect. So we'll do a few knife tests on this. We'll see what it cuts like, and yeah, let's readjust the camera and give it a beating. So I've got some sticks and twigs and all types of stuff. We're going to just do a basic chop test. You're going to see a lot more of this knife when I do my fall in series guide for wild camping. So my next video is kind of camp craft, and I'll be using this knife, so make sure you watch the camp craft video that I'm doing at the moment, because you'll see the knife more in action, you know, making stuff for kind of the Christmas period. It's quite good. Let's see how it cuts. Easy. I mean, it just eats wood. It's the camera, but it eats wood. Notching and carving, the knife performed exceptionally well on. This wood's a bit hard now. A lot of the woods around here are dying off. And once that sap goes and it dries out, you lose that green wood. It's hardwoods. You can see notching and carving, no problems. The high Scandi micro bevel, I'm not so fussed on a micro bevel on my Scandi secondary bevels, but I'll soon have that sharpened out of this knife. They do it because it does hold a better edge, and for chopping, this knife is brilliant. But notice there's no lanyard loop on that, and I don't mind that, because I never use a lanyard loop on any of my knives. In fact, I think it encourages rust into the knife, and that's why I don't put anything, you know, kind of these fancy lanyard loops off there. On wet, cold camps, damp conditions, that cord gets wet, and I think it does introduce dampness into the knife, and you'll notice that. So I'm glad and really great that they didn't do that. And I think in Finland, because the weather, you know, Finland, Sweden, that area, the weather's so hot, cold, and in winter it's bloody freezing. Probably one of the reasons why they didn't do that. The trouble is with a knife like this, you're tempted to just chop with it, and you haven't got that safety feature of the lanyard loop. But just wear a pair of gloves and you'll be fine. The curly birch, I've got to say, is beautiful. I love it. So let's have a look. Let me try and readjust the camera a minute. Do some power cuts for you. All you can see is my hand. There we are. We're back. Into the chest cut lever, chest cuts. No problems with that. Eating wood. Oh, it's a tough blade. God, I love it. I love it. Look at the thickness of that. It's just eating it. Let's do some notching and carving. Of course, when Nessmuk designed this knife, it was a rat tail knife, a rat tang on it. But of course, these days, with modern day strength and technology, it's all full tang. We know that to be a more solider knife. Perfect bushcraft knife. If anyone's looking for a bushcraft knife with a difference, I'd definitely go for this. Yeah, nice. What's it like for feather sticking? You can't really see if I come up. There you are. Let's have a look, see what we can get with some feathers here. Not ideal wood for feather sticking, but we'll see whether we can feather it. Should have a board for this really, but can we feather this? Don't try this at home, kids. Now this wood is absolutely no good for feather sticking. You need dry wood for this. This is a bit green, but you can see that you can kind of whip up some easy curls. And we'll just cut that off now. Oh, we'll just cut the whole lot off, shall we? You've got to be careful because the scandy on this wants to bite in quite deep. So for carving, it'll be a good knife, but you'll have to be a bit careful with it because they've put such a good Scandinavian grind on it. It does eat wood. And ferrocerium rod, no problems. I've had a few of the knives like that with that. They leave this on. This is from the heat treat, you know, and they leave that on. And I've had a few knives that just wouldn't throw a spark, but no problems with that. Perfect, beautiful. I'm going to leave the links in the description box below for this knife, and you can baton with it and batten wood. Not that you should really, you should use an axe, but I'll show you that in Campcraft video. Stay tuned. You're probably looking at my favourite bushcraft knife at the moment. This is probably the best knife I've used in a long time. Absolutely fantastic. Don't you just love that? Sweeping blade. Bit harder to sharpen, but you know what, you get used to it. But definitely probably one of my favourite bushcraft knives that I've got. Brilliant. So that's it from me, guys. I'll leave the links in the description box below. Old school camp review knife, some chopping, and I'm going to go out and have some fun with this knife now, do a little bushcraft video. I'll see you all on the next one. Stay tuned, be safe, be good, and if you need a new knife for Christmas, butter talk the missus. Price €90. Cheap, very affordable. So for under €100, can't go wrong. Speak to you on the next one.